convicted. Over 20 of them have been on death row who confessed to crimes they did not commit. Do you know why people confess to crimes they did not commit? Our justice system, and pardon my language, our justice system is fucked up. So I'm running the New York City Marathon to raise awareness about our justice system and how screwed up it is, and to hopefully make sure that no innocent person ever goes to jail again, and that no innocent person ever gets executed with your tax money ever again. And with that, questions?
Hey, Daryl, big fan.
Thank you. I'm a fan of yours as well.
Oh, great, thanks. So you ran for the President of the United States under the LP banner in 2016. Do you have any other plans in the future of participating in those debates again?
I have no plans at this time to ever run for political office, other than I have already said that I'm running for state rep this year. So other than that, no plans at this time to run for political office. But marathons, half marathons, 100-miler in 2019, because apparently I've just completely lost my mind. Blue shirt, you got a question? You've had one for almost everybody. And I'm only saying blue shirt because I don't know your name.
My name's Eric. Everybody keeps asking me. I don't have a question. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Just as before, I feel like I was forced a question, so I guess I could play devil's advocate, but I think I'm gonna stop on that train.
Okay.
Thanks.
That was disappointing.
Anyone?
I think that's
Bueller.
Thank you very much. Where's Dan Real?
He's going to take the headset. So we thought we were done with it, but we're not. Where's Dan? Dan's gone.
Andy, say something. Say something, Andy. Where's Dan? I'm frozen. There he is.
I found him, and he ran away from me. So this one is... I found our next speaker, and he fled in terror because he might pretty... Very awesome chair of the National Libertarian Party. Please give a round of applause to Josh Smith. Oh, we're doing the video first? Okay, turning this off.
Check. All right. No video? Who's taking? Is someone taking a video? No, I didn't. Listen. Thank you guys for having me in Connecticut. I'm very happy to be here. Let's give a big round of applause to the other candidates that are here for chair. Oh, they're not here. Okay. They did send videos, though, so we're good. We're okay. I wrote this speech out because, listen, I wasn't going to give this speech. Originally, I was not going to give this speech. I was going to come up here and do an AMA and talk about my plans and goals and stuff for the future of the Libertarian Party, but I decided I wanted to give the speech to you guys because it's an important speech to me, so I wrote it out. It's 8 minutes long. It's not very long, and I'm going to read it, and it's going to look really stupid, but I'm still going to do it. So anyways, hello, Libertarians of Connecticut. My name is Joshua Smith, and some of you may know who I am, and some of you may not. Currently, the Libertarian Party of Washington's Region 5 representative. I'm the founder of Think Liberty. It's one of the fastest growing liberty publications online today, trying to spread liberty to a world that needs it now more than ever. I've been an activist inside this movement for the better part of 10 years, and as some of you in the room might know, I'm currently running for chair of the Libertarian National Committee. I'm sure most of you expected me to come up here and talk about myself for the next 15 minutes, but there's a bar over there. And we could get face-to-face and talk about your fears and hopes and dreams for the Libertarian Party, and I can tell you mine as well. No, instead I wanted to come up here and address the Libertarian Party of Connecticut about the importance of a handshake. How that act relates to showing peace and friendship amongst ourselves and others outside of the party. A handshake and genuine dialogue are the two most important things I can see as chair of the Libertarian Party. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. Yeah, it was good, right? To many of us, a handshake is no different than a hi or a hello. To many of us, it's second nature. History teaches us the symbolic meaning of a handshake is one of peace and friendship, dating back to ancient Greece and Rome. Medieval knights shook hands not only as a symbol of peace, but as evidence that they carried no weapons in their sleeve and meant the other no harm. It truly was the first symbolic act of non-aggression. It evolved over time, not only as a symbolic gesture of peace and friendship, it also became part of affirming one's word of honor in the professional world. Over 2,000 years ago, the philosopher Emperor Marcus Aurelius once said, "Humans have come into being for the sake of each other. So either teach them or learn to bear them." Each of us individually have an idea of natural law, liberty, and freedom that is not a gift or an edict from any government. It's a right granted to each of us at the moment we draw our first breath. And as we mature into reason and logic, the responsibility that comes with such a gift not only that we exercise it with ourselves, but that we also exercise it with each other. It's the only legitimate form of a social contract that I offer to you with my word as well as a handshake in the beginning and ending of a dialogue as chairman and as the face of the Libertarian National Party. This contract and my handshake of principle and honor plainly states that when we work together to achieve and do justice for ourselves, that we also do it for others. It is part and parcel of acting non-aggressively with our fellow human beings and shows that we mean no harm or aggression with hidden weapons, agendas, or innuendo. A simple handshake and a civil, honest dialogue are two cornerstones in which I envision correcting the course of this ship. A thing that many in here may not know about me is that for 10 years I practiced mixed martial arts. I spent my mornings and nights getting punched and also punching people back in the face. It was fun, and some of the people that I would hit or be hit by were the best of friends. They were great people, and we worked hard to build up our personal strength and attrition. Sometimes we'd go grab drinks on the weekends, and we talked about our jobs and our lives and our aspirations in the fight game. But in that hour or so that we were punching and kicking each other, we didn't want to sit down and have a conversation about life and liberty. No, in fact, we just wanted to block and defend and kick and hit. And on our way to the gym, we knew that's what we were going to there to do. I see this much like the Liberty Movement. People know we were coming to take their safety nets, their post office, their cops, and their roads. So punching them in the face only furthers their defense. It only continues to perpetuate the stigma that we are brash and heartless and selfish. In other words, we have punched them in the face, and whether it was with the truth or not, they are no longer willing to sit down and have a conversation. They're no longer willing to learn about the very reasonable justifications behind personal liberty and individual sovereignty. They're no longer willing to listen to how the roads will be built without theft at the end of a gun. or the threat of being locked in a cage. In fact, once we have punched, we have effectively worked against our own cause. We have shut down the path forward. That same path that showed many of us liberty today. We've muddled it with a war of words and mudslinging. Meanwhile, the state grows and continues to intrude on every aspect of the individual's life. Leadership is not always a skill that people are born with. And there's many types of leadership. I choose only to be a servant leader. Servant leadership starts with a handshake and it evolves into a guiding of others to become servant leaders themselves. Servant leaders are seen as kind and caring, and when showing others the ropes, they do it in an understanding way. A way that helps others see their point of view. A way that shows the trainee the justification behind their training, but also walks next to them and not beside them. Beside them? Behind them? In front of them? They listen to the fears of the trainee and they put them at ease with rational justifications and earn trust. We must effectively, moving forward, communicate as libertarians that is the tried and true principles of free markets, free association, and the golden rule of doing unto others as you would have them do unto you, that does more justice than the chains and shackles of government operating outside of the confines of preventing force, fraud, and coercion. So today I offer you guys a new way of thinking when conducting outreach. A servant leadership mentality. A direction that earns trust not only for yourself, but also for our principles and our ideologies and our policies. No, today, libertarians, I offer you a reminder to never forget the importance of a handshake. Thank you, guys. We're still doing I think we're doing a Q&A now or something.
We got 2 short questions.
Look, Josh, let's be honest here. You have a tough road ahead of you. You have a relatively popular state, really popular chair right now. How in the world are you going to be able to beat him? And assuming that you do beat him, how are you going to be able to move the group forward if you beat him? There's going to be some unhappy people here. I mean, it's not going to be an easy thing for you. How are you going to make that happen?
Well, I think winning is important, obviously. And I believe that my traveling around to state conventions and meeting people and shaking their hands and trying to put them at ease and understand that we have a lot of opportunity for success, and I don't see that happening right now, has been helping. It has. You know, this is my 6th state convention in the last 7 weeks, and I've seen people turn that were on the fence prior. Going into a win as chair of the Libertarian National Committee, it's going to be a process. And obviously, you know, people are used to seeing Nick last 4 years. He's done a lot of really good things for the party. I have nothing real bad to say about Nick. It's just fundamental issues that I think can be fixed. But we talked about this earlier. I went through a really bad marriage. You know, I got divorced 13 years ago. And at the end of the day, we had to focus on our daughter. And so if I was to win, we still have to focus on the goals. And that goal is liberty. It's moving the liberty needle, right? And so I'm just going to work as hard as I can every day and hope that, you know, I can put people at ease and understand that we are on the same team. No matter if there's a split or not, we're on the same team and we're working for the same goal. And that's what's going to happen. So.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Josh. So my question is, I know that there is an LP initiative to put through, I think it's like 2,000 candidates across our country, and we have had some successful, campaigns as far as getting the right stuff out, but not really getting the vote. But what would you do as chairman of the LNC to help out the people that are already elected.
Already elected?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys are all coming up for re-election, right, this year? Right?
I haven't heard anything about that from anybody in the national party, so I really won't.
Yeah, I think we need to focus on our already elected officials. I'm a big fan of Laura Ebke and Brandon Finney and Caleb Dyer and Joseph Salkop. Is he still here? He had left? Yeah. So I think it's really important. Listen, you guys being reelected is going to give this party a lot of hope. And I think if we're not going to focus on those elections and try to get you guys reelected, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know why someone's deciding to call me at 8:20 tonight. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, I've talked pretty extensively about wanting to do candidate spotlights from the National Media Hub. I think that's really, really important. I think that we can, run spotlights on you guys and give you more national media just by even using the Facebook that has, 800,000 followers. It's not being used correctly, in my opinion, and that's one of the reasons I ran. And our already sitting state legislators are infinitely important, right? And so I don't see why we can't run that stuff. I don't see why we can't help with press releases or, come out and do a speech or, there's a lot of things we can do for you guys that I don't think maybe will be done. And so, that's one of the reasons why I ran. And I've talked about this pretty extensively as well with the Mark Wicks campaign and the Ron Bishop campaign in Alabama. We had really big media opportunities there that we didn't capitalize on. We just didn't. We put out a meme and a reminder to vote. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. We have a very unique opportunity right now to create a world that is more free, or a country that is more free than what we see today, and we're not capitalizing on it. And so, yeah, absolutely, we would, focus on the East Coast right now. I mean, look at you guys. We got Larry Sharp. We got 3 sitting state legislators. We got Rhode Island that has less than 1 million people in the whole state. And if 5 people moved there and worked hard, we could probably take it over. We got Florida down there, okay? They're running a new program called Operation First Step, where they are running people for elections that haven't had an election in 30 years. The East Coast is important. I believe it's very important, and I believe it's very important. I believe that we can spread liberty from the East Coast out. We got the South heavily red, we got the West Coast heavily blue, and people are working hard on the East Coast. So I would love to give you guys all the support you can take, especially from the National Media Hub. We got to tell people about you guys. It's important. Absolutely. Any other questions? Steve Sheets.
We don't like to think about losing, but in the event that you do lose, what are your plans for the party?
I'll be running for at-large immediately. I'll never leave this party ever again. Most of you guys don't know I joined the party in 2010-ish, sometime around then. I was in California. I didn't see a cohesive movement that was passing the message and principles that I wanted to be a part of. So I left the party after, I think, 3 months of donations. And I stayed an activist. I did. Some point a couple years ago, I decided I wanted to start looking into the party again. It's been a little over a year now. I joined the Libertarian Party of Washington. I became a Washington State rep, and I saw cohesive people that were ready to fight for liberty. And I joined the party, and I've never been happier. I'm excited. I became the rep for Region 5 there. There was 5 counties. One of them had an affiliate. Now we have 4 affiliates in that region. That's what I do. I'm a grassroots activist, and I want to see grassroots come back to the Libertarian National Party. So.
All right, we're going to wrap it up and actually get set up for our vice chair forum.
Is there vice chair candidates here?
Oh, yeah, there are 3 of them.
All right. Where's the chair candidates?
That's you.
Oh, okay. All right.
Big shoes to fill.
All right. Appreciate it.
Hi, Connecticut Libertarians. This is Nick Sarwark, National Chairman. I just got off the affiliate support call, and the stuff that's happening in all of the state parties is pretty much amazing. Between the state CRM system email for state parties and candidate recruitment, we're doing incredible things in 2018. We're on track to run over 2,000 candidates across the country. I'm sorry I'm not able to make your convention this weekend. I'm going to be in Maryland speaking at their convention. But I hope that you guys have a very successful convention, that you nominate a ton of candidates to go out and share the libertarian message with the people of Connecticut, that you nominate delegates to come to the national convention in New Orleans, that you stay involved in your party and your community. Remember, the Libertarian Party is not about me or national leadership. It's about you. The party is made up of those people who show up. And by showing up at the state convention this weekend, you're showing your commitment to the Libertarian Party, to our shared mission of setting the world free in our lifetime for our children and our grandchildren. So thank you for all that you're doing for liberty. Thank you for all you're doing for the Libertarian Party. Again, I'm sorry I can't make it to your convention, but I hope you guys have great success, that you nominate a ton of candidates, and that you go out there and make 2018 the best year ever for the Libertarian Party of Connecticut.
Yep. Yes. And taxation is theft. Vice Chair Forum. This should be a lot of fun. We should learn a lot today about all the candidates that have been able to come here. So starting from left to right, we have Alex Merced, Stephen Sheets, and Arvin Vora. just going to summarize, what's going on in the roadmap here of sorts. Obviously this is the introduction to the forum where we explain what goes on. That goes without saying. We're going to start with opening statements of 2 minutes from each of the candidates. Then we will start what I call the easy round, which involves 3 mystery questions from that box, which has been filling up over the last 2 days. Some libertarian submissions, some non-libertarian submissions. We have no idea what is actually in that box, and I can't wait to find out. Then we have what is called the really, really difficult round, which is real life, what can we expect in the hot seat questions. Then we go for the lightning round, which is just short answers which aren't timed, which are usually yes or no, rank things in order. And then we have the final part, and we go for concluding remarks of, what do we have here? Closing statements of 1 minute. So we will go from left to right, and we will continue going alphabetical order the whole forum. We will start back with Alex, because his name begins with M, because his parents named him correctly. So, is our timekeeper ready? I am ready. All right. Introduce yourself in 2 minutes. Go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alex Merced. I want to say thank you guys for having me here today. Was here in Connecticut this week, where I grew up. I grew up in Manchester, Connecticut, for the first 18 years of my life. Thank you. And last weekend, I was in Pennsylvania. And as I go to each of these conventions, I fall in love with libertarianism all over again. In 2007, I fell in love with libertarianism, and it became my passion to help open them up to the ideas of liberty. And then in 2013, I ran for New York City Public Advocate, and I fell in love with the Libertarian Party. So not only do I want to open up people to the libertarian message, but I want to help them find a home here in the Libertarian Party. And that's my driving passion, whether as a candidate, or either as a podcaster, or whether as now part of the LNC. Me and Steve are now, after this week, are now members of the LNC, but constantly finding ways to give you the voice within the Libertarian Party, constantly trying to find ways to bring more people in the Libertarian Party. And that's what I want to do as vice chair, help create that funnel, help people find a home here, and give and empower candidates with press support, ballot access support, with technological support, so that way everyone can have a bigger voice. I want 1,000 voices, 10,000 voices, taking that message, saying it in 10,000 ways to get millions of people to find a home here in the Libertarian Party. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Sheets. The last time I spoke to you guys was last year in this very room. I'm proud to be back. Thank you, Heather. So I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm running for Congress there. One of the things that I found is that we as libertarians need to be able to reach out to other people of other political denominations. It doesn't matter that we have the best ideas. What matters is that we can convince other people that they are their ideas as well. And how do we do this? How do we create this unity? And Larry alluded to it earlier when he said that we all need to come together. We all need to find those issues that we can agree upon. We don't focus on those issues that we disagree upon. We find those ones that we do. When I speak to Democratic Committee woman, I first started talking to her about anti-war, equal rights. She's an attorney. She wants to go for judge, and one of the things that she focuses on are people's rights. Well, that's a lovely thing to talk about to a libertarian. It's what we're all about. So I have her supporting me. I was speaking to Republicans in my district, and we were talking about, of all things, fiscal responsibility. Yeah, they're really not happy with the Republicans in Washington with their lack of fiscal responsibility. So we need to come together as a group, man. We've been trying this for a really, really, really long time, and we keep butting our heads together because for some reason we all feel that we need to be philosophically perfect in order to be able to accomplish anything. And I say, no, that's wrong. We need to accomplish something and then start worrying about philosophical purity. So that's what I'm going for here as vice chair, to try and bring us all together and try to make something happen for a change. Thank you.
My name is Arvind Bora. I'm the current vice chair of the Libertarian National Committee. I want to begin by talking about some successes of the Libertarian National Committee, some that I've been part of, some that I've witnessed. In my first term on the Libertarian National Committee, I helped change the way that we did social media by making us do social media at all. And I will agree 100% with candidate Smith on this, that we can do a lot more than we're doing right now. And I haven't been part of the social media team for some time right now, but I'll definitely agree with that. I want to talk about some of the successes of the movement as a whole, of the liberty movement as a whole, and I want to highlight the fact that we really have three kinds of libertarians. We have political libertarians. Those are the people that have changed laws, changed policies through political referendums. Those are the people who have made marijuana legal in so many states, making the unthinkable, not just thinkable, but making it law. We have techno-libertarians, thanks to whom we can now buy and sell to each other without funding the military-industrial complex, without funding the welfare state, without funding any of these things. We can buy and sell things without being part of that. But the breakaway success of our movement has been what I call the individual choice libertarians. Those are the people who are voluntarily choosing to not be part of the welfare warfare state at all. The biggest success there, in my opinion, is in homeschooling, where we see, because of homeschooling, we are now saving $20 billion a year in taxes. And that's on par with corn subsidies. That is a big deal. If you add private schools to that, it's another $50 billion a year. Combined, that is the cost of the entire drug war. Cultural libertarianism, to me, should be a major focus of our movement. I intend to talk about it a little bit more during the debate, but I'll stop there for now.
Time has expired. All right. For our first question, this was submitted by our outgoing Vice Chair, Paul Passarelli, and it's relatively straightforward and simple. What's your number one goal as Vice Chair of the LP?
This won't do 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Uh-oh.
I get 1 minute or 2 minutes.
We'll go 2 minutes.
Hold on, I can do 90 on.
We'll do 2 minutes.
He's an android.
Yep.
You want to do 2 minutes?
We'll do 2 minutes.
Right? And
Go.
One of the big priorities for me, I'm definitely big on technology because I want basically every campaign that every candidate runs to feed the next campaign. And one of the projects that the LNC has on the table right now that they're already doing is the CRM project. So focusing on getting that, the funding that it needs, and basically asking you guys to reach out and contribute to that is something that's going to help campaigns in all 50 states. Because that means when a candidate has donors, has volunteers, that information will be in the CRM that's being built, and then the next candidate can use that, which makes every candidate have a greater voice, which means we can reach the liberty message more consistently in every campaign and grow as a party. So to me, that's one of my top priorities as far as something I want to see to full fruition. But at the same time, I'm always going to be out there trying to see which states need help with ballot access, and also just trying to make sure that the focus is always on the candidate, highlighting candidates, and making sure not to distract from candidates.
One of the biggest issues in 2017 that I've noticed was that a lot of campaigns have been reinventing the wheel, as it were. How many times have we heard people coming up with problems with their petition forms, problems with what it is that they're saying in front of the microphone? Why is that? And part of it is that we don't have a cohesive organization of candidates across the United States. And one of the things that we can do as the LNC is be a facilitator for candidates across the United States to share those things that we've learned with petition forms, share those things that we've learned with creating a clear, concise, consistent, professional message. We're all speaking about liberty. We're all speaking about libertarianism. If we all can get on the same exact page, we would be a mighty force in driving that home. That's number one and one of my goals that I can say I want to do. Thank you.
I believe, even though I personally identify as an anarcho-capitalist, that we should focus on the goals where ANCAPs and minarchists can agree and work together. That's why when I represent the Libertarian Party for the media, I speak from basically a minarchist perspective, because that to me is the overlap. To me, one of the single biggest areas in which we can be working together, in which anarchism and minarchism 100% agree, is in getting government out of education and abolishing government schools. And that, to me, is something that needs to happen at a cultural level. Here in this room, we have about the boldest, most libertarian lobbyist that has ever existed in the history of libertarian lobbyists. We have a self-identifying ANCAP sitting legislator, and I know that if we can make it culturally okay to say, I will sponsor legislation to abolish government schools, these guys will push it. But that's up to the rest of us to work to delegitimize government schooling, to work to say that non-consensual funding is not okay, to say that just because you have a kid does not mean you have the right to steal. And that cultural libertarianism is a central mission that the leadership of this party needs to have. Now, you guys know that tomorrow, when I'm speaking in front of a national sorority convention, that I'm going to bring that up even though I know it's going to have pushback. You know that if I'm talking on the media, I'm going to bring up things like that even though I know it has pushbacks, because here's the thing. The people that we are fighting for need to know that we will fight for them. They need to know that we're not going to back down. All those homeschoolers, we need to get them to stop voting Republican and start voting for us, because we're the ones who actually fight for them.
Now, for the moment of truth, we get to find out what's in the box.
What's in the box? What's in the box?
Oh, I could make you wait another minute, but I'm not going to do that. All right. What do we get? Oh, man.
The first
All right.
blind poll.
The first question. How do you feel you will add credibility to the party? Great question. No, it's somebody wrote credibility.
None of those words are what I wrote.
I was going to say, it looks like a monkey doing something inappropriate to a coconut, but it's how do you feel you will add credibility to the party? Go.
Okay. I think sometimes my personal story can add to the credibility of some of the issues that we have most important. I'm a first-generation immigrant. I mean, I'm a son of an immigrant, so I'm first-generation American. Okay? And then not only that, my mom grew up in Guatemala. And during the period she grew up in Guatemala was during the period after the U.S. was involved in regime change in Guatemala, which is something that we speak a lot of time talking about regime change and how it affects and creates instability in the places where there is regime change. Led by other countries when there's that external intervention. And that caused a lot of instability in Guatemala and civil war that my mother grew up with during her whole childhood. I have an older brother who died because of drug addiction for many years because he couldn't seek help, because we have a culture that doesn't make it easy for people to ask for help. The JCC treats it like a crime instead of something that people can ask for help for. So when I take a look at my mom who basically raised 2 kids as a single mom and had to work 3 jobs while going to school, so that way me and my brother could have the life that we have. I mean, I see her as an example of individual determination and hard work that makes me work as hard, that always makes me realize that I'm never going to have it as hard as she did. There's nothing I can do, or there's nothing that I can't do. That's why I started a business and was an entrepreneur. When I was in college, I started a comic book store with a friend while I was doing college full time. So whether it's ideas of entrepreneurship that we have, the openness to immigration, or fighting the drug war and the bad effects of the drug war, my personal story lends credibility to why that's important, and also feeds why I am passionate about these issues and why I care so much. And that's why I fight so hard, and that's why I'm going to continue to fight so hard, regardless of how I fight and what position I have. I will always be fighting for the message of liberty and fighting for the Libertarian Party. Thank you.
This past year, we had a Libertarian in Montgomery County win an auditor position. She was challenged. Her petitions were challenged. They said that she didn't have enough. The Elections Committee, they told us the number, and apparently that was wrong. Well, Republicans challenged it. We fought it in court. We won. We had enough time to get more petitions. And the thing about this is that brought us together. We had minarchists, we had ANCAPs, and we had classical liberals all coming together to fight for this. We went door to door, and we spoke that story. We told what happened when we went door to door. And again, this is what happens when we come together, right? So as we went door to door and we told this message, we also worked the polls. We told this message. We had the Democrats telling this story. because they had similar stories about Republicans screwing them over too. And the takeaway from all this was that not just her win to the auditor position to examine the books in that township, but the fact that not a single Republican won a race in that township. Now, correlation, causation, we can talk about that later. But the point is, we all came together and we all told that story, and everybody started telling that story. You want to have credibility? You start spreading that message. You start coming together and spreading that message as a team, as a unit, as a cohesive unit, and you will be unstoppable. And when I say you, I mean we, the Libertarian Party.
To me, if we want to be a credible party, we need to make it clear to our natural allies, to the people that we are fighting for, that we are going to fight for them always, every time, when it's hard, when it's easy, and especially when it's extremely hard, we will fight for them. And to me, that means we need to take on the hard battles. We can always find something that is so small and so insignificant that no one fights against it. There's always some libertarian position that's so minor and so insignificant that we don't get pushback. And those are the easy fights. And we love those fights because you don't have to fight with anybody, you don't have to debate anybody. But those aren't the fights of substance. Those aren't the battles that are worthy of this movement. Those are not the battles that are worthy of the energy that we put into this movement. And to me, the battles that are worth fighting, those are things like getting government out of education, ending government schools, so that we can have a free market in education that not only gives choices to families, but creates innovative and exciting jobs for educators. Now, speaking of credibility, the way Alex pointed out, I started a small business in education. And I've been doing it since 2001, and I'm one of the lucky people that gets to be part of the free market in education. I talk to my brothers and sisters who are working in government schools, and they're stuck there. Some of them are great, brilliant minds, but the market has been shrunk down to the very select few who can actually do that. Credibility comes from fighting the things that matter, not the things that are easy. As vice chair, I've made it my business to fight the things that matter the most. And to me, those are ending government schools, ending welfare, getting rid of Social Security, bringing the troops home so we are no longer involved in every fight everywhere. Those are the issues that matter, and that is what I will fight for as your vice chair.
All right, let's see what else is in the box.
What's in the box?
Not telling. Oh, wait, okay, fine, I'll tell you. What, in essence, should the messaging of the National Party be and concentrate on? How do you feel about the National Party messaging as it is now?
Honestly, the National Libertarian Party, I feel, should be, aside from highlighting what candidates are doing, it should be the candidates who are doing the message. Every state, every candidate should be what determines the message. That's what when I talk about 1,000, 10,000 voices, that's what matters to me. Because if National is sitting there deciding what the agenda is, deciding what the message is, then they're crowding out the voice of the candidates. And if they crowd out the voice of the candidates, then what's the point? So that's what I have to say.
From the standpoint of libertarian messaging, we have a lot of different libertarians. We have libertarians who are in the political wing. We have libertarians who are more in the activist wing. And that's not to say that we don't need both, because we do. You know, but when we go out there as candidates, we control what the people hear. We control those issues. And it's up to us to determine what it is that the people in our respective electoral districts need to hear. You know, they all have their own needs. They all have their own desires, and they all have their own problems. You know, the people in my district, District 8, maybe District 1, I don't know. It all depends on what happens in the courts. But regardless, my congressional district, those people, they all have certain desires and certain needs, and I have to be able to speak their language. I have to be able to speak what it is that they want to hear, what they need to hear. It's sales 101. You know, the people who are the activists, they can go out and they can talk all day long about the various issues and try and change the issues, and we absolutely need that because, let's face it, if they're not there doing that, then the people in District 8 or whatever district across the United States, they're going to be thinking the same thing tomorrow and the next day about this and that. We need to all come together as a cohesive group, and we all need to make stuff happen. But like Alex said, the candidates need to be responsible for the message. Like Arvin said, the activists need to be responsible for the message. We all need to be responsible for our message.
In my time as vice chair, the position has grown. My first term in vice chair, I had a handful of media opportunities. In this term as vice chair, I've had many, many, many opportunities. And the fact is that if we keep growing, whoever the vice chair is, in a single 2, 3, 4-minute interview, that person is going to reach more people than we do in a lifetime of working at booths. And I've worked at a lot of booths, and I'll tell you, in that 3 or 4 minutes, when you realize that this is where you're going to reach more people than you have in your entire life up to that point, the importance of that position starts to hit you. National messaging that the vice chair specifically does, I believe, needs to be culturally oriented messaging. We need to be saying that we, the Libertarian Party, do not agree with welfare-funded schools. We do not agree with welfare for the middle class. We do not agree with government schools. We do not agree that the United States should be involved in every country's civil wars, often on both sides. We have to be willing to say that we want to end the drug war. Not say something minor like legalize one particular brand of hemp, that we want to end the drug war, we want to set the people free, and we want to cut taxes accordingly. That type of messaging is the job of the vice chair, and it's not easy because the question is never, do you want to end the drug war? They will ask you questions about everything else. And so the national messaging that I specifically will be doing if I'm reelected as vice chair is going to be hard-hitting, it's going to be clear, it's going to be making sure that we are getting that message out to that person out there in America, in Italy, in whichever country you're being broadcast, that believes those ideas and connect with our actual allies. I'm not going to waste time pandering to people who will never agree with us. That to me is a fool's errand. I will spend our time making sure that our real message gets out to the people who need to hear it the most.
What's in the box?
You'll find out. All right. Nice long one. What is your position on the 2004 gutting of the national platform, and do you favor restoration of the explicit hardcore platform that existed up until 2000, only with technical historical connection updates?
Now, okay, so basically, for those who are not familiar with the story, so basically, prior to 2004, the Libertarian Party platform was a lot more detailed, went a little bit further on certain issues, and then they changed it in 2004 to the current platform that we have today, which is now, I'm fine with the platform as it is, and I am open to things like a reaffirming of like the Dallas Accords and stuff like that, but I'm fine with the platform as it is. I don't think there needs to be a massive reversal. It's just my personal opinion.
Speaking as a member of the platform committee, I'm going to say this because I was also on the Radical Caucus Platform Committee. We started with the 2002 platform, and we kind of adjusted it from there and cleaned it up and made it a little more radicalized. And that was really awesome for what we did, and it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. But being on the National Platform Committee, my goal initially was just to look into fixing the grammar mistakes, make it look a little more professional, make it look more clear, concise, and professional. If people in this room want to make changes to the platform, I'm right here, man. You know, you want to talk to me after this debate? By all means, I will happily take your suggestions to the committee, and I will happily put them in writing. Daryl's also on that committee. Thank you.
I am not fine with the current platform. I am fine with the technical meaning of what everything says, but let me tell you this, there are many ways to tell a lie. You can tell a lie by just not saying anything. You can tell a lie by actively lying, which fortunately our platform doesn't really do that. or you can tell a lie by using language that you know the person listening will misunderstand. And that is where we are right now. Our platform right now, if you look at the education part of it, it could mean anything from what we have right now to vouchers to abolishing government schools, where the only correct minarchist or anarchist position is abolishing all government schools, all charter schools, all vouchers, and every other form of taxation-funded education. I want our platform to be clear and honest, not pandering. When it comes to our foreign policy part, I'm even less impressed. The idea of avoiding entangling alliances, I 100% agree with, but trust me on this, most people don't know what that means. I wanted to say we want to leave NATO, we want to shut down our foreign military bases, and we want to bring our troops home because we have no business being involved in somebody else's civil war. That's my view of the platform right now. Maybe talking with Steve after this, and certainly in New Orleans in later in 2018, I will be suggesting changes to the platform that make it clear and comprehensible. That platform should trigger status. That platform should be something that makes people angry. That platform should be something where someone says, this is so horrible, let me show it to my grandma, and their grandma gets angry and shows it to somebody else, and that third person is like, wow, this is amazing. That's the platform I want. I want a platform that spreads an honest, clear, and unambiguous message.
Write it out, brother.
All right, doing a momentary time check here just to gauge where we are. I think we have time for an additional box question.
Yay!
Yay! Let's see what's in the box. One more from the box. All right, my arm is stuck because it's too big. Can you pull the box? All right. How will you work with whoever is elected to better maximize digital media and news media opportunities?
With whoever's elected chair or vice chair?
With I would assume this is just what it said.
Yep. Got it. Bottom line is, whoever's elected chair, I'm going to be there to support them 100%. Whatever they need, when I'm going to do my best to make myself available to be able to support them. And if they can make a media appearance, I'm going to do my best to be able to make that media appearance, and basically to support each other, so that way we can be a team, because that's what you need. And your chair and your vice chair, you need a team that can sit there and complement each other. So at the end of the day, whoever you vote for either ticket, you have to think about how the whole ticket, how they complement each other. Because at the end, they're working together. So you want to make sure that, kind of like anything else, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, because you're not going to have everything in one. So that's something to think about as you guys choose who you're going to vote for in New Orleans.
Regardless of anything else, we all need to be on the same page when we're presenting our message. It needs to be clear, it needs to be concise, it needs to be consistent, and it really, absolutely, positively needs to be professional. We can't be out there playing like we're in high school. We have to be a cohesive unit. We have to talk about these things. And whoever's elected chair, I'll be talking to that person. We'll be talking about messaging, man. We'll be talking about messaging to the entire LNC. Because, it's not just us who are going to be taking interviews. It's going to be everybody who's going to be taking interviews. We all need to be working and focusing on our message. That's it.
As vice chair, one of the most important things that you do is media appearances. And you basically take as many of the ones that the chair can't do as you possibly can. And, I pledged to the delegates in 2016 that I was going to take every media appearance that I could that was in D.C. or close enough. And I've kept to that promise. I've interrupted all kinds of social events to say, listen, I know I said I was going to be here, but I have to leave. I'll be back in half an hour after I go to the studio to do an interview. That, to me, is something that I've taken very seriously. I've only turned down an interview when there's been another one at the same time. It has never been about my personal convenience. Tonight, I'm going to be driving 5 hours back to D.C. because there's an important event tomorrow that Chairman Sarwar couldn't make it, and I will be covering that event. And so that to me is how I've worked with Nick during the past couple terms. The first term was pretty easy because there wasn't that much media. This term has been much more difficult because there's been a lot of media, but I have 100% done every interview that I can, and during every one of those interviews, I have done everything I can to make sure that we're bringing in some of the big, bold libertarian ideas. Because of that, a lot of the things that I've said at interviews that Nick couldn't make it to have been shared, retweeted, I've had friends who've been in other countries that saw me on TV talking about hardcore libertarian things. Some of the stuff that I've said on one place, I had something that was retweeted by WikiLeaks that went out to thousands of people, showing that hardcore libertarian message can reach people very broadly. If I'm reelected, I will work with whoever's the chair to pick up whatever they can't do.
All right, that concludes the easy round. Now for the really, really difficult round. First question. How do we get elected? And what's our deal? Why have we not been elected before? Like, what's going on here, guys?
One, you're fighting against a tremendous amount of inertia. You have, and then, I mean, it's not just the inertia of people being stuck in this whole, okay, I got to vote Republican or Democrat, but it's also the whole institutions, ballot access, and also just the inertia with donors and volunteers. There's all this inertia that we're fighting against, and this is where, like, when Larry talks about the pyramid structure, is very important. You start with the bottom. You win a city council race, okay? You've just bought credibility with donors, with volunteers, with voters. So then the next race, a state legislature race, you now have that extra credibility to get the voters, the donors, the volunteers to win that larger race. So really focusing on that down ballot, those winnable races, and building up on that is how you get to those bigger races and how we break that inertia, how we break that race. And then basically every candidate that runs, win or lose, you won, because you pushed against that inertia, and that inertia is a little less for the next candidate. The next candidate will be able to have a little bit more volunteer, even if it's just one more volunteer, a little bit more voters, even if it's a few voters. Every candidate is a success because they broke that inertia just a little bit. But that's what we have to do, and it starts at the bottom. It starts with those small races. You build that credibility, and you work your way up. You still need top-to-bottom candidates, but that's how you do it.
Pennsylvania has the largest number of elected libertarians in 2018. We did that because we all went to work. We worked together. And I can't stress that enough. Alex is absolutely right. The people in the bottom, the people in the small races, those aren't small races. Those are all enormous races because we get a lot of them, and we build credibility as a party when we win those races. It's very, very important. It's very, very vital. And how do we do this? We do this like we did in 2018, man. We get the petitions. We make sure that they're right. And it's not rocket science, but they need to be right because they are challengeable, and we will be challenged. There's no question. That's not a question. That's not in doubt. We will be challenged. We need to be able to fight those challenges. We need to be able to take that message to the press, what's happening in the courts, what's happening going on the streets as we're talking to people, as we're doing our campaigning. In my district, we have to go door to door. That's important. I mean, it's critical. Everybody needs to have a message when they go door to door and talk to the people and try and get these petitions signed. Now, I have 3,000 libertarians in my district. I need 120,000 votes if I'm going to win in a three-way race. I need to reach out across those party lines, and I need our people to be able to speak to other people in other parties. We need to be consistent in our messaging. We need to be consistent with our ballot access. And we have to have, for God's sake, we absolutely positively have to have our petitions signed as well as we possibly can because they will be challenged. And focus on those down ballot candidates. Focus on the upper ballot candidates because they also spread the message. Point is, we need to attack this from all fronts. That's it.
I think that it's very important to realize the role that we actually play. And part of it is getting people elected, but we're not trying to get people elected just to get them elected. It's not a vanity project saying, look, we can build a party, look, we did something hard. Our goal is to cut government. Our goal is to cut a lot of government. Our goal is to make government small enough to fit inside the Constitution, and then if you ask me, to keep shrinking it even further. And the way that we've done that is, in a lot of ways, the very things that many people have said, that's not that important. People say all the philosophy stuff doesn't matter, but the fact is that core libertarian belief that says you can do whatever you want to your body as long as you don't affect anybody else, that libertarian belief was the philosophical underpinning, in my opinion, for the legalization of marijuana across many different states. That kind of work is important. Candidates who ran by talking about ending the drug war, they made that idea a little bit more palatable, a little bit more acceptable. We've brought that libertarian idea to the forefront, and it has had impact. And now we need to bring another idea to the forefront, which is harder to say. It's just as hard to say now as saying end the drug war was in the 1980s when Ron Paul was talking about it, which is this. If you have a kid, that kid is your responsibility. If that kid is not your kid, you have no financial responsibility. It sounds strange to say right now, but if we keep pushing, it's going to sound less strange, and soon I believe we will see an end to government schools, either through policy changes or because people just stop being a part of them. If those 2 million homeschoolers become 4 million or 8 million or 10 million, we're going to see that change happen. Marijuana became legalized once a lot of people that actually tried it. I believe the same will happen to many of the bigger areas, and I think we need to do that through our elections and through our candidates.
All right. Say, hypothetically, we nominate a libertarian, and all these years of investing most of the money in the presidential ticket pay off. Our guy wins, or he or she wins. What's the first thing that libertarian does in the White House, and why?
Well, the first thing a libertarian should do in the White House, I mean, that would depend on the candidate. But bottom line is, like, I mean, they could rescind previous executive orders, but at the end of the day, most of their power is going to be with as the. Yeah, we're not running for president. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
You can make efficient use of the time.
Oh, okay. Got it. So the only thing I want to make sure is that I mentioned the LP CRM project, but I forgot to mention where to donate. And to donate, you want to go to lp.org CRM. And again, at the website, at that URL, you can actually learn what the project is. So if you're not familiar with what a CRM is, a customer relationship manager, you can read up on there. Again, this is a tool that will help your candidates and future candidates. So please donate to that. The whole party. So regardless of anything you get out of tonight's meeting, go check out that URL.
Yep, that's time. Yep.
What should they get?
Right.
Don't we get to talk about
it? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, good time.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's just say this. I do want to answer this question in one way. If we have a libertarian that wins the White House, it's because we already have won the war. We already have candidates in all those offices. You feel me? We won at that point. So what does a libertarian president do when he takes that office? He takes a vacation. That's it.
Paid by what? Taxpayers?
His own dime. Of course. It's a libertarian.
I think a lot of that's going to depend on what we've done up till then. Because if we win the presidency by pandering and telling half-truths and lying, then the person that we elect will be just another Democrat or Republican politician, and he's going to just go there and do some Democrat and Republican stuff. We need to have a culture that has clear goals. Our goals need to be things like abolishing government schools, bring the troops home, ending the income tax. And if we get elected on those terms, that's what that guy is going to do, or that woman is going to do. And what I want to see that person specifically do the second he gets there, the first thing, bring all the troops home. The second thing, pardon everybody. The third thing, fire as many people as humanly possible in the federal government. And then, yeah, I agree, take a vacation.
I'm going to change it up a little bit. And this is a hypothetical of how you would deal with it were you in the shoes of a state chair. Mm-hmm. Hypothetical situation. Let's hypothetically say that some officer on the LNC came out and advocated for whatever reason to repeal the age of consent laws. And hypothetically, let's go a little further. Your state party has worked really hard and you've gotten somebody on a board of ed. And hypothetically, let's go a little further and say a parent found out and they got really concerned and they have this weird idea in their mind that you're advocating crimes against children. How would you do damage control for that? Like, how do you clean that up?
This is exactly why I am running for vice chair, because a state chair shouldn't have to have that issue. A state chair should be focusing on reaffirming people what the next win's going to be, instead of trying to harvest and protect the wins they already have. So, I mean, at that point, what you have to do is you just reassure them that you are not advocating for crimes against children, that you are reaffirming that you are trying to protect the individual and their property rights, and that's why you are here, and that's what you will continue to fight for. But again, you shouldn't have to be in a position where you're doing that damage control. You should be in a position where you're working towards the next win, not protecting the last.
I have absolutely nothing to add to that. That was like the perfect response. I mean, that's the whole reason why we're running for vice chair in the first place. Having been a state chair, I've never actually had to put that kind of fire out, and I'm grateful for that. I actually did get a chance to work on campaigns, and that's what I want to be focusing on as vice chair, to facilitate that kind of action going on. More of the same, basically.
If I was the state chair, and I had somebody that I was working with that was an elected person on the Board of Education, that person would be so constantly in the media talking about abolishing government schools that he would be already a controversial figure in the state. Now, when we're talking about that specific question, let me tell you this. This question came up before. It came up for us in 2008 when we had to choose between two candidates. We had to choose between somebody who had hardcore libertarian views that only families should decide age of consent. That was Dr. Mary Ruart. We also had just the worst, most Republican, non-libertarian candidates, and that was Bob Barr and Wayne Root. Bob Barr, who went on Hannity to reaching to millions of people and telling them that, no, we don't want to legalize heroin. No, we don't want to end the drug war. He was asked the question point blank, and he said no. And so what I would say to that state chair, or if I was that state chair, I would say sometimes the libertarian message is going to be a difficult thing to think about. It is supposed to make you think. It is not supposed to pander to you. It is supposed to challenge your worldview. And if a parent was concerned, I would explain to them that the current situation has lulled people into a false sense of security. It is not, this theoretical sexual predator out there that is, seducing and discarding people at a young age. It is the people in government schools where that happens. If you talk to people about their negative early experiences in that area, they were often under the supervision of the government. And I would say, don't fall for that false sense of security. It is your job as a parent to protect your kid, no one else's, and it is your right as a parent to give your kid the guidance he deserves.
All right, lightning round. This is basically short, binary, no-nonsense answers. Doesn't require a timer. No one should ever need one. First question. This is a ranking question. Rank these 7 national issues in order of priority from most important to least important. Immigration, healthcare, drug war, foreign policy, national debt, social security, and environment. Go.
Okay. Foreign policy would be number 1. I guess. Can you read the list one more time? Just.
Yeah.
That's
Immigration,
like a long
healthcare,
list.
drug war, foreign policy, national debt, social security, environment.
Okay, so 2 would be healthcare. 3 would be the national debt. Environment would be 7. I read the list one more time.
All right. Immigration, healthcare, drug war, foreign policy, national debt, social security, environment.
Okay, and then 5 immigration, 6 social security.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. If you guys want to answer the question, you can.
I wouldn't mind answering it.
Sure.
My first priority, abolishing government schools. 2nd, end the income tax. 3rd, end the drug war. 4th, bring the troops home. 5, what else do you have on that list?
Environment, social security.
Ending social security, ending the entire welfare state.
Steve, if you want to answer.
Sure. Let's stop killing people. You know?
Yes.
Let's stop punishing people for doing something that's harming nobody else. Let's stop using the government as a blunt force instrument to change people's minds on things.
Bear in mind, there's no timer here, so.
Fair enough. We're done.
Yep. All right. Okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being phenomenal, rank the current status of the National LP's public relations efforts in marketing and messaging.
I would want to say 7 and improving. The LNC has made some investments in press.
Just the number.
7.
6.5.
0. Most libertarians don't even know that we want to
It's a
abolish
number is
government
fine.
schools.
Yes or no, do we need to influence other parties to win elections?
Influence other parties? Okay, yes, we should influence them to vote for us.
Yes or no?
Well, repeat the question.
Yes or no, do we need to influence other parties to win elections? Political parties.
No.
We need to influence voters, so no.
No.
Okay, list the offices you have run for as a libertarian.
In 2013, I ran for New York City Public Advocate. Was the top vote getter that year for the in New York City with 10,000 votes, doubling the next highest vote total. In 2016, I ran for U.S. Senate, getting over 47,000 votes, being the third highest statewide vote total for New York. And then in 2017, I ran for New York City Comptroller, where I got almost somewhere like 5,700 votes, which put me about, I want to say, 10% better than the previous run. And those are the 3 races that I ran. And I ran for New York City Comptroller, focusing, it's very similar to Dan Fishman for Otter, focusing on making the case that that's a place where you can have a libertarian. With, if you're a Republican or a Democrat, you can feel comfortable with a libertarian as comptroller, holding your dollars accountable.
State rep in 2014, U.S. Congress in 2016, and U.S. Congress this year right now. And I've taken all these things and all the lessons that I've learned, and I'm wrapping up in this race now.
I've run for state legislature. I've run for Congress twice. This year, I'm running for U.S. Senate against Chelsea Manning.
Okay, pretend you just met someone who knows nothing about the party. List 4 issues you should probably wait to talk about after the first conversation so they can get the philosophy down first.
Okay, I'm generally going to stay. I mean, I don't know. There's issues that I don't. There's no issue that I would want to stay away from, because first thing I should do is listen to them and learn what it is. What is it that they care about, and what is it that triggers them? That's how I identify what I'm not going to talk about, and what I am going to talk about. Everyone is different, so there's no 4 issues that are the magical stay away from. Everyone's different, and that's why you should always listen first, because that way they paint the map for how to get them in. Thank you. Thank you.
Last weekend, I talked to somebody. I had a campaign button on that said, "The state sucks." And that was actually the best lead-in in the world, because he was having so many problems with what the state has been doing to him from a regulation standpoint. So I'm going to tell you this right now. We have a lot of slogans out there that are all really wonderful conversation starters, and we should use all of them.
I believe when you're speaking in public on behalf of the party, you should use bold, exciting, clear messaging. I believe that if you're talking to somebody that you're going to be talking to regularly, the first several times I talk, I don't say anything. I just ask, I just listen, I don't do anything like that. If it's a one-shot thing, you know, you're working at a booth, then I'm going to try to say something that's like in between provocative.
Okay, now let's flip the question around. Pretend it's the same person, you just met them, they know nothing. What's the first issue you talk about should you decide to bring an issue to raise?
It's the same thing. You want to listen first, but I always want to focus it and wrap it around the same thing that Larry was talking about earlier, hope, because that's how you, like he said, you start revolutions, you start evolutions. So when I talk about education, I'm not talking about how bad things are. I'm talking about the hope of how better the education can be for their kid if they were to embrace more entrepreneurial, more free market solutions. When I talk about the war, I talk about the hope of having their kids at home with them. I talk about hope. I talk about how good things can be if you just embrace libertarianism and you embrace the power that you have within you, with the autonomy that you have with your liberty. I want people to have hope. I want people to have, I want honesty. I want heart. I want hope. That's how we win. Thank you.
In 2016, Larry, Alex, and I were at Gay Pride, New York.
Yes.
And there was a point where I was standing outside our booth and I said, "Come check out the gayest political party in the history of the world." And that brought people in so they could hear about how we've been supportive of gay rights since our party's inception in 1971. So I say this, like Alex said, we give these people hope. We give these people something to say that, yes, we understand who they are, and they need to come check out us.
Generally, again, I wouldn't talk about any issue at all. If I was going to talk about an issue, it's probably going to be a totally free market education. I want people to see how much better it is. I want people to see how much better it is economically, how it creates exciting jobs for teachers, how much better it is educationally, it creates so much better education for students. I want them to see that it's the type of thing that brings foreign companies to America, creating more jobs, because companies like to go where there's an actually educated workforce, not one that's gotten a pretend education. So if I had to start, I would choose education, but realistically, again, I wouldn't choose anything.
All right, we are on the home stretch. If we could get the timer going. Now, you've got 1 minute. What is your 1 minute pitch when the timer is ready? Okay, we have to get the timer refunctioning here. 1 minute. Give us your 1 minute pitch to sell the Libertarian Party. Go.
Now, we all want a world where we can be more successful, where we can survive, and not just survive, but thrive. And it's becoming harder every day. Taxes, regulation, licensing is increasing the cost of living and making it where you have to make more and more sacrifices in your life. We can turn that around. We can turn that around and empower you to have a better life every day with every step forward. And that's why I want us to be libertarian together, so that way we can give each other more power, more strength, the ability to survive and thrive by getting the weight that's been put on our backs from licensing, regulation, taxes, and all the other controls from the costs and burdens of government together.
I said before, Pennsylvania had the largest number of libertarian wins in 2017. What I hope to do as vice chair, I hope to get a facilitation going on. I hope to have a lot of people talking to each other about how to make the best possible campaign moving forward. And you really want to know what I want to do as vice chair? Yeah. I want to find out what we do in Pennsylvania, and I want to take it on the road, and I want to do more of the same. People running as libertarians and winning as libertarians.
In 2016, we had one of the most highly focused on campaigns that we've ever had. And the end result of that campaign is that people are confused about our views on taxes, and people know that there's a guy that doesn't know where a city is, that realistically most people don't know where that city is. We could have done a lot more with that, and I think that we should be doing a lot more with our reach. Our reach should be spreading messages like getting government out of education, so we have better education, so we have better jobs. We should be spreading ideas like ending the income tax, ending the drug war, pardoning everybody, stop locking people in cages for not hurting anybody else. And so what I want to do as vice chair is to make sure that the country gets the message of what we actually stand for. Listen, not everyone is our ally. There are people who believe in statism. That's fine. We need to make sure we do reach and inspire our allies and the people on the fence and let them know that libertarianism gives you a better life.
All right. Now we're going to go to 2 minutes, and we're going to make a closing statement.
Wait, what was that?
I thought that was a closing statement.
No, that was a...
No, that was sell the Libertarian Party in 1 minute.
1 minute. Yes.
Okay.
Now sell you.
Pretty much it.
You sold the party, now sell you.
Okay, everybody. Again, my name is Alex, and I'm running to be the next LNC vice chair. And I'm running it because I'm not running for anything other than to empower you, to give you the tools to have a louder voice, whether it's by making sure that you have the resources to get on the ballot, by making sure there's the technology to share information so that way your campaigns can be stronger, better, faster, or by creating the relationships with the media and creating the press face that keeps the focus on your candidates, highlights your candidates, and makes people love the word libertarianism, realize that it means hope, realize that it means that they can have more control over their lives. And if you haven't met me today yet, please come say hi. And if you want, I do have cards from the 3 races that I mentioned earlier, from my race from Senate, Comptroller, and New York City Public Advocate, if you guys would like a little piece of LP memorabilia. But thank you guys. Thank you. But thank you guys so much. You guys have shown me a lot of love today, and it means a lot. And I am here for you. And regardless of what happens in New Orleans, we have to come out of there together, stronger, because all of us have to work together going forward, because there's so much work that needs to be done. And I'm here to work with you no matter what happens next.
Let's get to work!
So my first petition drive was in 1994. And I haven't been true libertarian the whole way, but I started becoming true libertarian starting in 2004. And I started working really hard on the various issues, mostly as an advocate. But here's the point. There are a lot of us running for vice chair. There are a lot of us running for LNC. This is about you, the people who are going to be going down to New Orleans as delegates. You know, what we want is to create the best party moving forward. We want to empower our candidates moving forward. We want to have the best message moving forward, that clear, concise, consistent, professional message. We want that moving forward because that spells victory. When we're running as a libertarian, when we have that message and we're able to communicate it to the people who are going to be voting for us, that's what we want. When you go to New Orleans, I want you to vote for whoever it is you believe is going to carry that torch forward, whether it's Alex, whether it's Arvin, whether it's me. I'm cool. Let's just make our party the best it can possibly be moving forward. Thank you.
I want to close by talking about strategy. Today, we are doing a strategy that has a long-term weakness in it, which is this. If we do outreach by pandering, by using messages that people want to hear but isn't actually the truth, by coding our actual truths in ways that people can't understand, here's what happens. The first candidate says, I know that we want to end public government schools, but that's going to trigger people, so I'm not going to say it. He reaches some people, they run for office, but here's the thing. They're not in on the joke. They don't know the secret. And in that process, we are weakening our message. We are building ourselves a house of straw. I think we need to have a strong party. And a strong party, to me, is a principled party, one that understands and embraces our core goals. And those core goals need to be public and transparent. They can't be hidden and known only to a chosen few. They need to be well known to everybody. Strategically, I want to make sure that the libertarian goals are known so that we can fight for them. I don't want to keep them a secret anymore. Today, if you ask around in the libertarian movement who's most in favor of abolishing government schools, a lot of people are going to say me. My goal is at the end of 2 years, it should be an impossible question to answer. It should be like answering the question, which libertarian most wants to end the drug war? You can't answer that. That's the way that our messaging needs to be. People need to know that these major goals that we have, we share all of them. I want to thank the Libertarian Party of Connecticut for inviting me. I want to thank my fellow candidates, and let's really make this the best convention we've ever had.
Indeed. I want to thank the candidates for coming. Interesting, informative as always. Thank you all. Thank you. And we are actually going to do a straw poll, and we're going to take votes for 20 minutes, and let's see how it comes out. Make sure everybody gets to vote.
I'm voting right now.
Secret ballot.
Everyone votes.
All right, who do we got?